And look at us, it's episode 137, Red Leaf Retrocast. Colin, Joey, myself, JD. Colin, it's your theme pick today. Got 2 games we're playing. What is the theme?
Light and Darkness.
Love it. I actually really like it, the 2 games you chose.
Yeah, they were pretty good, even if one was incredibly slow to start.
Oh, bro. Okay. Tutorials should not last like 3 hours.
Exactly, yeah.
That was a trial and tribulation, and luckily I still had a save point from the last time we played, and I got to skip all that.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was like, fuck yeah, don't have to do that again. But yeah, I beat one of these games just a couple of years ago, so it was more or less just a refresher course, and the rest of my time was kind of pointed towards the other game that you chose.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my kind of way I went about this time. I didn't play through all of one, and I got through as much as I could of the other. I ended up going back and beating both Legacy of Kain and Tomb Raider 3 from our last podcast. So I beat them both, and Tomb Raider 3 is significantly harder at the end of the game than the prior 2 Tomb Raider games, for sure. Yeah,
yeah, sounds like it.
Very much need a lot more patience for it all.
Cool beans.
So what you guys been up to? Colin? Did you get a new bed like me?
Oh, I wish.
Oh, I got a new bed. I slept in it for like 11 hours yesterday. I was like, oh, yes, I never want to leave.
Yeah, I want to get a new bed because mine's sagging in the middle, but it's one of those beds that double as a dresser, and I don't have room in my bedroom for an actual dresser.
Oh, you just buy those cheap little compartments that go underneath.
I'll consider it.
Yeah, you should have done it during the May long weekend sale, like I did.
Yeah, maybe when I move.
Oh,
eventually.
Oh man, bed. People seem to underrate beds, I hear.
Seems that way.
Yeah. Joey, how much is your bed? How big? King size?
How big? King, yeah.
Yeah. Because you're a king.
Yep.
Yeah,
you know it.
I got queen size.
It's the same.
I had a queen until I moved into my house. So the king is worth it when you have dogs that sleep in the bed.
Oh, boy.
They actually have space when they're in there.
See, I would say that would be worth it with my cat, but he just sleeps on me. So don't need any space for that. Okay, enough about bed talk. Should we talk about golf? I think we should talk about golf.
Do we have to?
No, we don't have to talk about golf. I just got new grips on all my clubs, and then I was taught how to essentially cut, because I just have a hodgepodge of making my sets, and now I cut them down to the proper lengths that they should be. So now I'm not golfing a driver with someone who'd be 6'2" with a 40-inch arm reach or some shit. So I got them all customized, and now I know how to make my own grips, do all that stuff. I have the equipment, which is very affordable, like a $6 tube cutter and that kind of stuff. So took some lessons. That was very helpful. I'm getting better. I'm consistently getting under 50 now on 9, which that's kind of like goal 1 for beginners and people starting out, is how fast can you on 9 holes get below a 50 in total score. And I've done it a number of times now, so the next step is to do that 3 times in a row. 3 rounds in a row. I've already broken 100 once because I don't do 18 very often. So I'm pretty confident that I can do that as much as I do breaking 50. That's my golf update. Could probably do a whole podcast on my searches and learnings in golf, but I won't put you guys through that. So go ahead, Colin. What you been up to?
Nursing a busted lip since Friday.
What'd you do? Who'd you fight?
A recycle bin.
Oh.
I was swinging it up to make it go upside down to empty it into the back of the truck, and then boom, caught it at the wrong angle, and it whacked myself in the face.
Okay, that actually sounds pretty funny. You need to record yourself next time.
Yeah, it's too bad I wasn't using a truck with a rear view camera.
Yeah, bummer. Did the trash go all over you as well?
No, it was like the bottom corner of it.
Damn it, that's less funny now. I wanted like full on, turn it upside down, and as it's flipping, it hits you in the face, and then all the trash goes over you like a rain shower.
That would be funny.
That would be like, it would be terrible for you in the moment, but talking about it later would be hilarious.
Yeah,
I'm laughing just thinking about it.
Though I did have to carry a wad of paper towel in my teeth to keep it from bleeding all over the place. So I'm sure that looked a little funny to somebody on the outside.
So you got to like totally make up a crazy story now of like this old man was saying, "Don't touch my trash," that kind of thing. And then he was about to fight you, and then he actually clocked you, and you're like, "What the fuck?" Like, this old man went nuts on me. See, that's a funny story. You know what? Only tell that story now, not the I knocked myself out with a trash can. That's less funny.
Promises. I did get a haircut yesterday, finally.
I need one of those.
Feels so good.
I need one of those too.
Shaggy.
Hair's starting to show up in my eyes, and I hate it.
Ugh. We're all lazy bums. Yeah. That's what that means. Lazy gamers with hair that needs to be cut.
Not lazy. Just prioritize everything else over a haircut.
This is also true. It's like, do I get a haircut or do I go play golf? That $20 can go towards playing more golf.
Yeah, the temperatures got pretty fucking hot over here this past week. It's like plus 30.
Ooh, 80s.
I was like, oh man, summer came early. And we haven't
It's been in the 50s here, so I guess that'd be what, like 10 and 12 around there. Celsius just really dropped after a pretty good week of weather. Anyways, we're not here to talk about weather. We're here to talk about video games. Colin, give me your video games.
I've been playing more Returnal. I finally got some more permanent upgrades. Now I can walk through lava and dive underwater, which is quite satisfying since the game has been dangling various things out of my reach with pools of lava and water all this time. And then after that, I got a third permanent upgrade that lets me see invisible platforms. So, I'm really cleaning up in this game.
That's a thing?
Yep.
That's wild.
More specifically, it lets you see these glowing orbs that you shoot that generate invisible platforms.
Oh, I remember seeing those things. I'm just like looking at them going, what do they do? Do they do anything? Okay. Everything's been answered.
Yeah. So I think I can get a certain audio log from the big tower challenge thing now. I think I'm getting pretty close to the end.
Wow. How much time have you probably sunk into this game at this point?
That's a very good question. Probably at least 20 hours, 25.
Man.
Probably longer than that.
Shit, I put in like 6 and I was like, oh, I'm good. I can't get anywhere. Probably look that up. PS5 keeps track of that stuff now.
Yeah. I've kind of lost track of the story, but I've seem to have come to a recent revelation that says that future me was the one who shot down our spaceship and marooned us on the planet. So I'm trying to figure out what the fuck happened there.
Yeah, like why exactly?
Yeah, but there's so much shit to remember. I don't know if I'll probably just look it all up on a wiki later.
Probably. It seems like it gets kind of time dimensionally strange and convoluted.
Sounds that way, yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of expected with those kinds of stories.
Yeah.
All right, Joey.
But still, wait. I have more to. I've also been playing more Smash Bros. Ultimate here and there.
Okay.
Making my way through that Spirits storyline where you're going all over a map, breaking the various characters out of a mind control spell that's gone all over the planet, and Kirby was the only one to avoid it.
Right. I remember.
There's still a lot to do, but I'm chipping away at it. And the nice thing is that after you beat a stage or two and then exit the mode, you can unlock more characters in the main mode immediately afterward, in the usual way. I've gotten a shitload over time. Simon Belmont, Lucina from Fire Emblem, and
Yep.
Zero Suit Samus. All that good stuff. And of course, been playing more God of War 2018 as well. I'm past the part where Baldur causes Kratos to destroy the gate to Jotunheim. Then they go to Helheim,
Yep.
and then escape. Now they're on a mission to find a new way into Jotunheim.
Yeah, that whole section
Okay.
was very reminiscent of like the I think it was the first game that you go to hell. Is that right, Joey?
Um,
And then you have to kind of climb out of Hades, and then you
You go to hell a
emerge
lot.
from. Or was that the second
Isn't
game?
don't you go there in like almost every game?
Yeah,
Sorta?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the first game you go into the underworld and escape, and then I think you also do it in the second game.
All right. So very very common thread there in God of War.
Yeah. It's led to the whole saying, Kratos, the man too angry to stay dead.
Right. That's true. Boy,
And
you want
yes,
to
that-
escape death? Just get pissed off.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's everything I've been playing besides the podcast games.
Yeah, I pretty much concentrated on podcast games myself. Not playing as much of Tears of the Kingdom the last couple weeks as I'd like to. Been very busy with life things and my newfound hobby of golf. So, Joey, congratulations.
Yes.
Everton did not get relegated. Great success, I
Yeah.
guess.
Woohoo! We survived. That's all we did. It came down to the last game too. That was crazy.
I remember there was a couple years there with Hanover kind of flirting with relegation, and then it just finally happened, and they've never recovered since. So my favorite Bundesliga team and the college I went to is no more, and now I'm back to watching my Dortmund, the high school team, the team I rooted for in high school because I was living there. They blew the Bundesliga, so lots of not success going on for our teams.
Yeah. I think Everton will bounce back and be hopefully lower mid-table next year.
Well, they could be Leicester. What do you? Okay, let me pose this: would it be worth it winning the league and then losing out on Champions League and then being relegated all within, what was that, 4 years?
Well, they had a 10-decade up and down type thing. Yeah, I would take a win. Honestly, we haven't won anything. We haven't won a trophy in over 20 years.
Yeah, so you might take the win
Like,
at this point and
Just take a
suck it up.
trophy, yeah. But what about Luton Town? Their 10-year rise. That's amazing. They went from National League to Premier League in 10 years.
That's a lot of investment in youth and retaining players that you think can help.
Yeah. So, Premier League next year should be interesting.
Luton Town.
Yeah, their stadium sits 10 people. It's behind houses. The entrance is in between two houses.
Oh God,
It's interesting.
that's awesome. I love it. I gotta look this up now.
I think it's Luton Town. It's Luton something.
Luton Town FC.
Town. Yeah. it's a crazy story. They were literally in the National League, so the bottom of the barrel, and they worked their way up in 10 years.
Okay, here we go. Look at them, all these victories over Sunderland and shit.
Yeah, their stadium
let's-
sits 10,000.
Okay, it's not small by any means. Like,
Small for Premier League.
well, it's small for Premier League, but it's not small for like lower leagues.
Yeah.
Long-standing rivalry with Watford. Okay, that's a Premier League team. Once upon a time. Left in 1900 because of financial problems and rejoined in 1920. There's your history. Okay. Resurgence to fall to non-league in 2009. Wow. Yeah. Sank to the third tier 4 years later, and then okay. So that's quite the journey back.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I like the logo. The crest.
Yeah, hopefully they can survive in the Premier League.
Okay. Let's see. Who's their shirt sponsor? Utilita? That sounds like an electric company or something. Electric and gas. There you go. So, Joey, you've been playing Diablo IV, obviously?
Yes. First, I finally finished Forbidden West.
Ooh. Tell me.
Nice.
So, got me excited about whenever they make the third game.
So you
Still
ended
think
up
the first one's
enjoying
it. I like the story. I just think some of the mechanics got worse in the first game. And I ended up not using like half the bows. Like I never even picked up some of the weapons once. So
yeah, I was kind of very much the same. Some of these weapons were just straight up broken. It just didn't work like they were supposed to.
yeah, so I did the like arena challenges, and they gave me some weapons I didn't even know were in the game after I beat the game, like stuff that like shoots like blade type things. I didn't touch that once. So
Was it any good?
Yeah. If you hit the target.
Oh, okay. Well, it usually helps when you have a weapon.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay. It was annoying because it was a lot slower than the bow. So I just stuck with the bow. And then, yeah, I've been playing Diablo 4. I already beat the campaign.
Oh, that was quick.
Only level 53. It took me all day Friday to beat the game. But people were beating it Thursday. Like, if you really want to, you can rush straight through it.
So it's not very long. We're talking like what, 8 hours?
It took me about 12.
Okay.
So you could probably do it in 8, or if you take your time and actually watch the cutscenes and anything, it might take you a little longer. I didn't care enough. I just wanted to get done because I wanted to get to the end game stuff. So leveling, I got up to 50, and then after you get 50, the way to levels, you get a new level every 4 paragons, so it starts slowing down. You have to do a level 50 dungeon called the Cathedral Light to unlock the 3rd tier of the world for toughness, and then at level 70 you can unlock the tier 4, which gives you the best weapons currently. So I'm sitting in tier 3, slowly leveling myself up.
Okay. Sounds good. Is that all we got for us today?
That's all I got.
I think so.
Well, I was looking at future releases. AEW Fight Forever comes out at the end of the month. Final Fantasy 16 comes out in a couple weeks. So I'll probably be getting both those, to be honest. And then Pikmin 4 at the end of July, and then Assassin's Creed Mirage is in like October. So that's only 4 games for me the rest of the year. It's not a lot. It seems like a slow year for releases, but big releases. Know what I mean?
I guess so.
Let's see. And with that, I will play the drop, and we can move on to Colin's 2 games he picked out for a theme as my media player. All right. The media player updated without me knowing. That's why it took so long. Okay. So we're 20 minutes in. Colin, give us the lowdown. What do you got?
That's a little vague.
Well, why did you choose this theme pick and the games involved? And then I will then throw it to Joey to say, what did you think of the 2 games overall?
Okay. It just seemed like an interesting topic to cover. I mean, you're exploring the polarity between World of Light and World of Darkness. Both games do. How they interact with each other. I mean, in one game, neither is necessarily good nor evil, though the dark part has certainly been taken over by evil. But yeah, in the other game, it's most definitely an adversarial relationship. And the dark world is most definitely the evil world. In stories, usually in like anime and manga, you'll see that there are tropes like dark is not evil or light is not good. And the only thing left I can say, I mean, people will normally associate darkness with evil because it conceals the unknown, and as human beings, we naturally fear the unknown. If I may get a little overly poetic for a minute.
I like it. I like it. That's very true.
I mean, yeah, you want examples of tropes like dark is not evil. There's like the dark magician from Yu-Gi-Oh! And
Sure.
Light is not good. You'd see Admiral Kizaru from One Piece.
Yep.
And that's all I can really think of at the moment.
I mean, yeah, you could always have a commentary which just flips it on its head. Where, I mean, you could look at various scripts where some holy church is corrupt and they use the light as a diversion from the actual evil that they're doing, versus the antithesis of it, where just because it's dark doesn't mean that it's not meant for good kind of situation. There's various examples of that throughout. Greek
I just remembered
Roman.
another one. StarCraft with the Dark Templars. They were actually forces for good, and were the only things that could permanently kill Zerg Cerebrits and the Overmind. So that's an example of dark is not evil.
Right. Yeah. Things could be disguised as good, utilizing the trope.
Yeah.
Which I do kind of like that. I mean, when you just look at kind of the Crusades in general, it was under the guise of good, right?
Yeah. And the way you see the certain figures of the Catholic Church portrayed in the Castlevania anime.
Right. Yeah, just various various regions and scripts have done different things to, well, manipulate people because of the natural fear of unknown, right?
Yeah.
So, Joey, over to you. What did you think of the 2 games this time around?
Meh.
Oh, not impressed. Look at this guy.
They were okay.
That's all you got.
That's all I got.
God. Worthless.
Oh, boy.
Okay. I kind of had some thoughts at the top of the cast. So, Colin, let's throw back to you. First game. Let's go over it.
All right. First game is The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. I would have picked A Link to the Past, but we've already done that at a previous cast, way near the beginning of this whole cast. And it was developed and published by Nintendo, released on Nintendo Wii in North America on November 19th, 2006. In Japan on December 2nd, 2006. In Australia, December 7th, 2006. And in the EU on December 8th, 2006.
It's wild
And then
that
not
this
much
game
late.
is more than 15 years old now.
Yeah. And then not much later, it was released on GameCube in Japan, December 2nd, 2006. Oh, that's the same day as the Wii.
I mean, just think about it. What, like, people our age thinking what 15 years ago was like 90 to 95, and now it's actually 2005.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's just kind of us being, you know, we've gotten older, and there's still that like wacky mindset of, well, the past was still pre-2000, when that certainly isn't the case anymore.
Yeah, it's when we grew up, but
right
now it's just kind of shifted over time before we even noticed.
Yeah, that's the other reason why I like doing I do it with the anime cast as well, where we just, you know, the rolling bar, it's a continuing movement of time, and essentially us saying, yes, these games are now old. And yes, you are getting older. We are getting older. So for Twilight Princess, a game that came out on the fucking Wii, is now it's now considered, at least in our circle, old. And boy, there are a lot of aspects of this game where it's, especially, by the way, you making me play a Zelda game when the new Zelda game came out is very cruel. You know, I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom, like, oh my god, the mechanics, the fluidity of everything, and then I'm in this fucking temple in Twilight Princess, and I'm like, just push the pillar, you asshole! Why is this so hard?
Oh boy.
A lot of weird frustrations in Twilight Princess, I will admit.
Yeah. Yeah, the background of the game is kind of funny. So it was originally developed as a GameCube exclusive, as well as being a sequel to Wind Waker, but it was later reworked into what we have now.
This came out before Skyward Sword, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, and as time went on and the game's completion got closer to the release of the Wii, the development team was asked to create a port that was playable on the Wii in addition to the GameCube.
Okay, yes, I remember this.
Yeah. As a result, the Wii version has its map as a mirror image from what it is in the GameCube version, since with the motion controls, they felt that having a right-handed Link was more intuitive for the majority of the audience, and the original Link was left-handed.
I absolutely agree.
I remember
that leads
finding
to
that
a lot of
confusing.
like crazy battle mechanic differences. You notice that?
Yeah. It's like the crossbow and the claw shots and all that.
Right.
Plus shaking the nunchuck for spin attacks and such.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like that bad at all. It's just, okay, my arm got a little tired at times. Had to put it down. That kind of deal.
Yeah.
Not the worst thing in the world, but I would definitely prefer with a controller.
Yeah. I was considering buying a copy of the GameCube version, but nowadays it's prohibitively expensive.
Yeah, it's just not feasible. But you could also just buy the remaster that came out recently.
It did? For Twilight Princess?
Oh, no, I'm thinking of Skyward Sword. Stupid me.
Yeah, I was
not that that's a good game anyways. I still vastly dislike that one. Yeah.
Yeah, so Twilight Princess is notorious for taking a long time to get going with the plot. It's the kind of thing Game Grumps made fun of when they played it. Now, the plot is as follows. Ordon Village, a dwelling in Hyrule, gets invaded by monsters who kidnap a bunch of children. Link goes to rescue them, only to stumble into a forest that's been shrouded by twilight, and then he gets transformed into a wolf. And he gets captured by the enemy, but gets freed by a creature named Midna in exchange for helping her in her quest to take down an evil king named Zant.
So I think you
And in
summed
order
up
to do
like the first 2 hours of the game in about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, it's so long.
Yeah, for sure. Doing all these fucking chores in the village.
Collect the bees, fish, get
Yeah, I was
honey.
good.
Like, oh, fight this
Yeah.
straw doll. Go find the horse.
Yeah, it's like-
the horse ran away. Go herd the horses. Like,
Yeah, the first thing you do is herd goats.
or goats.
Then you
Yeah,
have to retrieve.
fuck me.
Then you have to retrieve a cradle from a monkey, then give it to a pregnant mother who gives you a fishing rod so you can catch a fish to lure a cat back to its home in order to be able to buy a slingshot to play with the kids, and then get the wooden sword. And then you learn how to use it before going into the woods.
Yeah, annoying. So this is okay. So there was a game a number of years ago, and I always reference this game now. It was called Control. Joey, you're familiar with Control.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you say it turned out to be a pretty damn good game? Joey?
Yes.
Yeah? You would say such a thing? Would you
That
also say
silence is disconcerting.
Yeah, would you also say that the 2 hours it took to get going was incredibly too long?
Yes.
Okay. That's how I feel with Twilight Princess. Eventually, it becomes a damn good Zelda game. But in order to get to that point, you really have to, like, grind to get the game going. And
Yeah,
so...
I never got to the game.
Right, why would you?
This is way too boring for me. That's why it's math.
Yeah, that's why I will never, disagree with the critique of people putting the game down. It's like, oh, well, you didn't give it a chance. Well, fuck, I gave it 2 to 3 hours of my fucking time, and nothing happened. I'm done. Like, those are the two most egregious examples of my recent memory of games that do not take into account pacing of the game, and it just really disregards your own time as a gamer for the game to finally get, well, fun. Games gotta be fun. Games gotta be interesting.
Yeah.
Control didn't do that at first. I mean, yes, just like Zelda, Twilight Princess, the world is interesting from the perspective of what's happening, but, like, what you're doing as the player is not interesting, going from room to room, or in Zelda's case, like, village person to village person, collecting and doing the most mundane bullshit. It's terrible.
Yeah, but at least Control had a lot of lore that you could read in that time, so it kept me interested.
Yeah, well,
But
reading
Twilight
documents,
Princess,
yeah.
what lore do I got? That there's pumpkins I can smash for gems. That there's kids that won't let me use my horse because they think it needs a day off.
Yeah.
Like, what am I learning here? This village is full of assholes.
Assholes who look like aliens.
Everything's a quid pro quo in the Zelda Twilight Princess universe.
Yeah.
I would give you this jar, but would you look at that? My cat hasn't come home from school yet. You're like, what?
Yeah. It's so dumb. Yeah, there's 2 other examples of games that are way worse. There's The Witcher, that apparently takes 10 hours to get good.
Oh, you're talking about the first Witcher?
Yes.
Yeah. I tried playing the first 2 Witcher games because I ended up liking The Witcher 3 so much, and just nothing happens. Just nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, this game's boring. I'm putting it down. And boy, oh boy, when you critique games like this, there's a certain sect of fans inevitably in every fandom. They're just like, oh, you just didn't give it a chance. It's like, fuck.
Yeah,
Bullshit,
yeah.
I didn't.
And then the other one I can think of is Final Fantasy 13. That takes apparent 20 hours to get to a point where it's actually fun.
I'm so fascinated with Final Fantasy 13. I might just have to, because I have all 3 of those suckers with, like, lightning returns and things.
Yeah.
and I really like kind of all the Final Fantasies in their own weird way, except the original Final Fantasy 3. Did not like that one.
Yeah.
The nomenclature, the original 3, the Japanese 3. Not
Yeah,
6.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. Anyways, more Zelda talk. Colin, go for it.
Okay. So let's see. Yeah, I only got on my second playthrough. I only got through to like partway through where you're still a wolf, but I did originally beat it when I got it way back when. I remember being kind of disappointed there weren't that many dungeons in it, because it feels like after Ocarina of Time, every like mainline title really started scrimping on the number of dungeons. I mean, Wind Waker had like 5 dungeons, and this one had 4, I think.
Well, I do agree with that. However, the amount of time you spend in the dungeons, I think, is warranted for comparison.
Yeah, you cut out.
Sorry. So I think the amount of time you spend in these dungeons is worth the comparison when you're saying, okay, there's only 5 dungeons or 4 even, but I'm spending like multiple hours in these things, going through them, figuring out the puzzles, getting the new X, Y, and Z weapon, or whatever. While in the older ones, you're not in there for multiple hours. You're in there for like 20 minutes, 30, and maybe you die and you have to go through it again, but you then know kind of where to go. So I think they add up. So I guess the question would be, do you prefer the quicker, shorter dungeon? You get a bunch, which is kind of a mixture of what's happened with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. You have these like mini dungeons, and then you have your like 4 to 5 super main ones that do that. But with the past games here, you have the multiple hour ones, or with the very first one, or Link to the Past, where it takes like a much shorter amount of time, but you get like 3 or 4 more. What do you prefer?
That's hard to say. I remember each dungeon in like Ocarina of Time being a pretty good length, like maybe an hour or so.
Right.
I don't know, maybe. I still feel like Wind Waker could have had more dungeons, but we're not talking about Wind Waker. Yeah, it's hard to say.
I would say
pick your poison.
I would say. I mean, obvious. I think the obvious like comment would be, why not do a combo of both, or just have 7 dungeons and half the time as the super big main ones. Kind of like the Ocarina of Time thing. You get however many dungeons it was, but like you said, it takes an hour each one.
Yeah.
So you get a little more variety. Certainly doesn't hurt games generally.
Yeah, plus more boss fights.
Right, and that's something I want to talk about with another game we're going to talk about. But in terms of Zelda boss fights, did you get kind of the same feeling throughout this one, or did it vary? Like if we're comparing it to Link to the Past or something.
I feel like there's some decent variety. The one I liked the most was Star-Lord. That's the one with the big giant skeleton thing, and you're riding the gear platform along the walls.
Right.
There was a lot of speed to it, and it felt like a real roller coaster ride. So
there's definitely a challenge to that one. Yeah, it's very unique.
That one was my favorite.
I think in Twilight Princess they tried to do a little bit more unique mechanics rather than just, here's a centipede, here's a plant monster, shoot the big red thing, and then we're kind of good. They kind of repeated a lot of that with well, the Metroid series. It feels like.
Yeah.
But in terms of Twilight Princess, I was pleasantly happy with how the game ended up going into a positive direction and really picked up when you do get to these dungeons that matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked what they did with the claw shots. 'Cause that's like, not only do they function the same as hook shots, but you can also hook from your first hook point to another one across walls and such.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like that was a really decent, really good mechanic, and I'm kind of surprised Zelda games haven't done it since.
You don't really need to anymore. Well, in Tears of the Kingdom, now you have this fucking phase ability where you can go through rocks and shit. So I guess that's
Oh,
kind
yeah?
of like it, yeah. It's very bizarre. I get it, like it makes things super weird and you turn a world upside down with that thing, but I'm very 50-50 on that ability in terms of like the modern Zelda, but I get that would be my comparison to like a hookshot kind of deal,
Yeah, makes sense.
at least in terms of like comparing it to Twilight Princess. Obviously there's no phase ability in old Zelda games.
Yeah. Yeah, I found the camera a little bit wonky. Maybe that's just me.
Um
At least when I was playing as a wolf.
yeah, it's very snappy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it flips real hard. I didn't like that too much.
Yeah. I mean, you can correct it with like the Z button. But all the same, it's kind of
Yeah, but then you're mashing it a lot like a Spyro game from the PS1.
yeah.
Yeah. Get behind him. Get behind him. Get behind him. Get behind. Oh, thank God! Finally.
I, how did you like Midna?
Annoying. Pretty annoying. Very
Oh, yeah?
sassy, but I know there's definitely more annoying characters, but definitely served a higher purpose than a lot of other like side Zelda characters that stick with you. So annoying at first, then I got used to it. I guess would be a way to put it. They, whatever way. But
She's a chick. You see it at the end.
Okay, yeah, sure. Oh yeah. With yeah, got it. Yep, now I remember. You're right. But you don't know that most of the game. You just know it's some transfigured creature thing. You don't know what their like form actually is.
I always got the vibe that she was a chick, so.
So Joey, been awfully
Whatever.
quiet. What else you got to say over Zelda here?
Man, Link looks creepy.
Doesn't he?
In the beginning, I was like, what?
All the characters
Every
look
character
weird.
does. Yeah, they look like aliens.
And the walking, running animation also looks weird as hell. But then you have the giant ass horse that's like 3 times your size.
Yep. Very
But
true.
I really hated the unskippable, like repeated cutscenes. Like, oh, I'm calling in the hawk. I have to wait to after the first little set of the tunes, then I can cut, but then I still have to wait and let it fly onto my arm. It got annoying. And I only used it like 5 times. But things like that. Like, it felt like they could have shortened a lot of things. Like, this ladder didn't really need to be that tall. This tunnel didn't need to be that far for me to crawl. But they just made everything so grand that it took a long time just to get places.
Yeah,
Everything
I can
is
see
very
that.
padded out for Twilight Princess.
For sure.
Okay, so overall, I would say Twilight Princess becomes a good game, but I have to penalize it for the egregious like first few hours start, and there's a lot of mechanics that they tried to make it reminiscent of like pre Wind Waker, and it has a lot of the same frustrations as Ocarina of Time in that aspect. Obviously, with the better console, higher technology, they were able to mend a lot of that. But it's a very padded out game. It's very, very long, very unnecessary. So, normally I'd be kind of towards that A and S range for a Zelda game, but I'm actually going B.
Yeah, save that for later.
Nah, I'm gonna do it now. I did a B. I'm giving a B.
Okay.
That way I don't forget.
Yeah. I pass it.
I'll pass it, but I have my reservations about it.
I'll give it a conditional pass. Play it if you like Zelda. Fail it if you don't.
That's very fair. All right, Colin, next game.
All right. Next is Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. It's developed by Retro Studios and published by Nintendo. Released on the GameCube in North America on November 15th, 2004. In the EU on November 26th, 2004. In Australia on December 2nd, 2004. And in Japan on May 26th, 2005. And it was later released on the Wii in Japan on June 11th, 2009. And then it was also part of like the Metroid Prime trilogy thing on the Wii. I forget when that came out.
Okay, question right off the bat. What console did you play this on?
GameCube.
Okay, I played it on Wii in the trilogy disc.
Okay.
That's what I played it on.
So we'll have a variety of experiences. So the plot is as follows. Samus Aran gets sent to a planet called Ether to rescue some Galactic Federation Marines who lost contact with the chain of command. And then she finds out they're all killed by a race of dark beings called the Ing, who are the polar opposite to the Luminoth, who are the primary race of beings who inhabit Ether. And as the game goes on, you find out
I just called
a
them
phase
dark
on...
spiders.
Yeah, as the game goes on, you find out a phase-on meteor collided with the planet and threw the light and dark dimensions of the planet out of whack. And Samus has to put things right by traveling between the dimensions and reigniting the light of Ether to banish dark Ether. And we find out early on they were friendly with several other sapient races in space in the past, including the Shozo, which I thought was a nice little continuity nod. And we can't really talk about this game without mentioning Metroid Prime 1.
Sure.
Because it uses a lot of the assets and mechanics from it. It's like the gameplay is pretty much exactly the same, though the light and dark mechanics create some variety. More on that later. And pretty much the main antagonist of the game is Dark Samus, who anyone who's seen the full ending of Metroid Prime 1 will recognize. It's the creature that came out of the corpse of Metroid Prime after sucking the phase-on out of Samus' suit and exploding. And the game doesn't seem to have as much color as the first game, but maybe that's thematically appropriate, because light and darkness, black and white, you get the picture. And another thing that separates this game from the first is that you have more interaction with friendly sentient life forms than before. It's like the first game was like BioShock, where you found out what happened by looking through bits of information left behind by the people there. But here you can talk to some Luminoth themselves, at least the ones who are left. And I gotta say, after playing so many modern shooters, these controls took a bit of getting used to again. I mean, it's like GameCube era stuff. Gotta like hold down the left trigger to be able to aim up and down.
Yeah, it came back to me pretty quick because I went through Metroid Prime a number of years ago and I'd never played it before, and the controls were just it was just so jarring. I can't say it was bad because I got used to it just like anything else. It was just so different, and it was just I guess a handcuff of the era and the controller itself. So they were just working with like what they got. And then with this one, with the Wii controls, it was much more intuitive, is what I found. But still, I know exactly what you're talking about with the GameCube, because Prime had that same deal.
for sure. Now, there isn't too much different from the first game, but the light beam and dark beam mechanics do add some variety. And plus, having to run between light bubbles and dark ether makes things more challenging. Because, at the very least, early on in the game, just being in dark ether's atmosphere hurts you. You have to jump from these little light bubbles that the Luminoth had installed before in order to be safe, and it'll actually regenerate your health too. And yeah, every so often the Aang will attack. You gotta fight them off. And I did notice with the various beam weapons, the light beam, its projectile is looks the same as the plasma beam, but with a color swap, like plasma beam from Metroid Prime 1.
Yeah,
But its
so
look on
when you start playing this game, and if Metroid Prime, the first one, was still kind of fresh in your mind, you're kind of like, this was my experience. I was playing Echoes, and I'm going, okay, things are clearly different, but at the same time, very much the same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's a lot of palette swaps going on.
Yeah, and I'll expand a little bit further on that. Is even though like the art's a little adjusted, I would say there's more cutscenes. They really focused on more story here. That's like telling you the story rather than Prime, where you're just kind of along for the ride. But in terms of this, it was very much. Even though there were differences that's kind of spelled out for you, you still feel like you're playing the exact same game.
Yeah, it feels very similar. I mean, yeah, there's the levels have like different layouts, but it's still sort of the same way of traversing. One of the criticisms a lot of people had for this was like it was really hard. Had a really unforgiving difficulty curve.
Oh yeah, like if you don't have like this jumpy strafe mechanic down, then you're gonna have a much tougher time with it because the enemies do swarm you, and you can't really. I had such trouble like locating enemies that are coming at you, and that reminded me of the game Prey.
Oh yeah,
when that came out, where I'm just like, I don't know where they are, where they're shooting, because they just blended into the environment too much. Because the world's mostly dark, you're facing dark enemies. The way they move is very strange. They're like jumpy tarantulas coming at you.
Yeah.
You eventually I got used to it, but it was definitely difficult. And then when you come across the stronger enemies and you're having to use your power-up cannon or the missiles, it takes multiple hits and you're still getting swarmed way too often. So that was definitely a challenge. I do agree with the difficulty commentary there.
Yeah.
It was never obvious of where I was supposed to go next either.
Yeah. I remember getting lost early in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, one other thing I noticed that they added to the mechanics that you didn't see in Metroid Prime 1 was the screw attack.
Yeah, screw attack, and there was another one. What wasn't in the first one?
Yeah, there was one where you could like fire multiple missiles at once on multiple targets. I really like that mechanic.
I think it was like a wall jump or something that wasn't in Metroid Prime. I don't remember that being in it.
Yeah, I think
there was a double jump.
I think I remember
feature,
that.
But there wasn't a wall jump.
Yeah, I remember now. I think it was part of the screw attack mechanics. Right. And I think my favorite stage was the Sanctuary. It's like that big techno fortress type deal. Had a lot more color to it than the previous stages, and it had a really cool boss fight, like this giant robot spider thing. I really liked it.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of what I was hinting at with Zelda, was there's a number of quote unquote boss fights in this game, but my first like 2.5 hours, 3 of going through, I think it was like 4 boss fights, and they just felt like regular enemies with more health. And I found them really boring and not very interesting. And my experience with this game, like, I wasn't really all that impressed, because as we talk about, like, a sequel needs to do something more, or at least make the same game again with more mechanics. And I just felt like I was playing an exact carbon copy that was just more difficult and frustrating. So I was not into this, like, for a good chunk of the game.
That's too bad.
Yeah. I mean,
I remember Dark.
I mean, with the story and how it played, I was like, okay, like, it's a well-made game, like, from that perspective. But it kind of wasn't what I was, like, expecting, or the next iteration wasn't. It just didn't impress me.
No, that's too bad.
Yeah.
I remember Dark Samus being a really frustrating boss.
Oh,
like,
terrible.
you fight her multiple times.
Terrible.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to land a hit when she's vulnerable. She'll, like, generate a giant wall to deflect shots or zip out of the way. I just remember putting in a lot of hours just to beat her. I mean, I remember one area standing out to me in particular was the Torvus Bog section, because it's just because of the music. It's like a remix of the Brinstar Depths theme from Super Metroid.
Mm-hmm.
And that was already an outstanding piece of music. So
the music was excellent.
Up to that point.
The music and how it set the atmosphere, that was very good. No complaints from me out of that.
Yeah, Metroid Prime's music is always top notch. I can't remember, was there ever a Morph Ball boss in Metroid Prime 1? Because I don't think so.
I don't recall.
Because, yeah, I just remember looking at a video to refresh my memory on the different bosses, and there was one where you're fighting one on a spider ball track. And that seemed like a really unique way to do it.
Yeah, the ball track in various sections of the game, that was good fun. The ball in general, the morph ball in general, seemed very, like, jumpy.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, go in the hole, and I'm, like, knocking around like a
yeah.
I'm like, Christ, why is this so difficult?
Yeah. Yeah, that could be a bit of a problem in the first game too.
Now, I did read, because I got near the end. I hadn't beaten the game, but I felt like I got pretty close. There was one boss fight where I had a little trouble with it, and I read that the GameCube version was insanely difficult. It was like the last 3 or 4 bosses that you come across. And I even had a little bit of a tough time with the Wii version, but apparently they made those easier when they made the trilogy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't get that far when I was playing for the cast. I mean, I have beaten it before, but it's been like over a decade.
Well, game is that old.
Yeah. We're crotchety old men. Those kids these days with their dual stick controls.
So, Joey, Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, what you got?
I didn't play too much because of the shooting mechanic.
Okay, do tell.
Too annoying for me. Like, they had auto lock, but then you tried to aim, and it just felt like you're just standing around, moving from target to target as they shot at you.
That is correct. Very very archaic feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, I just didn't like it. And then I saw that there's a multiplayer battle arena mode.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
With this kind of shooting?
Yes.
Does it do the auto lock on?
Sort of.
I think so.
What the fuck were they thinking?
That is a good question. It didn't work out
Maybe
so
they're-
well.
Did you guys used to play it?
I did a couple of times with friends. Wasn't all that interesting.
Yeah, it seems like it's random for Metroid.
Yeah,
I think-
I think it was part of. There was a I vaguely remember a strange like marketing campaign with this game, where they wanted it to become like Nintendo's Halo. So they did a lot of the same marketing aspects that Halo did, where we want this multiplayer section, but also this expansive story. They did some wacky things about that, so that's kind of why that's my interpretation of why they made this seemingly random multiplayer section.
Yeah, that's thought
Yeah, it
it
makes sense.
But overall, I thought it was decent. I mean, I stopped playing. I just watched someone afterwards.
How far did you watch?
I watched maybe like 30 minutes, maybe an hour. So I didn't get too far into the game.
Okay, so you probably saw like 3 or 4 boss fights then.
I guess I'll two.
2? And they were just like, they seemed like regular enemies, right?
I don't really remember them, so I can tell you how unspectacular they were.
I remember the first one being like a stronger spider enemy, and I'm like, ugh, that's kind of boring. And the next one's like a caterpillar, like it's straight out of Zelda on the Game Boy. And I'm shooting its butt, and I'm just like, my God, I rolled my eyes so hard at that enemy. I go, really? We can't do anything more interesting?
No.
Yeah, that was something of an issue in the first Metroid Prime as well. Just like enemies that just tank hits or only have a small weak spot. That's why I really liked the Omega Pirate boss. It required some actual strategy. You gotta like hit the right spot or a number of weak points all at once, and then have the right visor to see where it's gonna pop up to regenerate.
Yeah, that's interesting. Instead of just strafe jump, strafe jump, strafe jump, strafe jump.
Yeah.
And that's all you do the whole time. Like, I can't remember how many bosses it took for me to actually do something more than that.
Yeah, I don't know. I know the robot spider in Sanctuary was really had some strategy involved, and I really liked that one. But yeah, aside from that, the first few enemies, they just tanked hits or only had one weak spot. It's kind of lame.
It made me really appreciate the differences in the new Metroid that came out on the Switch with
Oh yeah,
the avoiding the robot and doing all. I was like, okay, I didn't like love that, but it was certainly more interesting and a constant state of fear that this thing was going to find you rather than me trouting around echoes just trying to figure out what platform to shoot so I could jump and hopefully the door opens. I think that might be an issue just with the concept of Metroid, where you never, like, it's so hard to figure out where you need to go. And yes, the point is exploration, remember where you are, but in this sort of first-person 3D environment, I just found myself getting lost too easy. And yes, I was comparing a lot of this to Returnal and how I was, like, the environments, how I'm interacting and shooting with enemies, and I was like, man, Returnal might as well be PlayStation's Metroid knockoff.
Yeah, actually, now that you say
pretty
it,
much.
they are quite similar.
Right? They like even from the start of the game where it's the ship going through an atmosphere of like lightning and shit, and it's getting shot down in a way, and then it lands. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Woman's got to build up her exosuit and get upgrades.
Yeah. Then loses them every time she dies.
Yeah. Very much the same. Now the Returnal boss fights, those are fucking hard as shit, but they're made that way on purpose.
Yeah.
But there's only a fraction of them compared to Metroid, so.
Well, are those few boss fights more satisfying than these like seemingly regular enemies that you're coming across in Metroid? I think
Better
there's
than
a
the first
happy
game.
medium
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I think so. At the very least, there's like a bullet hell kind of strategy you have to implement.
Right.
Sure, there's a lot of side dodging you have to do.
Well, that was
But-
kind of the same in Echoes here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw 3 bosses. I thought the first and third one were kind of the same thing.
Yep. Certainly were.
Spider and then bigger, darker spider.
Yeah.
And then big dark robot spider. And then yeah, it's just kind of I guess I'm not that high on Echoes when I'm directly comparing it to even similar games and even its own universe. Like I just think it's kind of average.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well mechanically made game, but not enough to grasp me in a way.
An interesting environment, just lacking fighting and shooting mechanics that seem to be important, but to me don't seem to be good enough.
Right. Doesn't feel good enough, does it? Okay.
Oh, well.
I've said my piece on Echoes.
Yeah, I pass it. I remember not liking it as much as the first game, but still enjoyed it.
I definitely don't like it as much as the first game. And that probably has a lot to do with it's too much like the first game.
Maybe. I feel like it did enough different to make it stand out somewhat, but
I don't think it did. We are on the opposite ends of that one. So, okay. Joey,
Yes.
favorite, least favorite, and your tier ranks.
Ooh, this is gonna be tough. I guess I like Metroid a little better, even though the mechanics sucked. At least it was less boring. And the beginning of Twilight Princess.
That's very true. Hard to argue that.
I'm gonna give them both a B. They're made well. They're just not for me.
Okay, I already said I give Twilight Princess a B, and I'm actually giving Metroid Echoes a C. I'm gonna be pretty hard on it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Huh.
because I ended up liking Twilight Princess a lot after I got through that terrible first start. Well, Echoes really felt like the same game the entire time to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my favorite was Metroid Prime 2. I gave Zelda a B, and Metroid, I'll actually give it an A.
Ooh, okay. So that's
B's for
double
both.
B's again.
Yeah.
Okay. So our next episode is in a couple weeks, hopefully, and it's Joey's theme pick. So they usually end up either good or on the very wacky, despairing side of things.
It should be. I came up with my idea. It should be interesting. I don't know what I'm going to call it, but we'll be traveling to Midgar.
Oh.
Traveling to Midgar.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
We
Okay.
already did have F7 in a previous cast.
Uh-oh. I don't like where
Army.
that's going now.
Oh, lordy.
Well, we're doing a Final Fantasy game in in conjunction with Final Fantasy 16 coming out. So I guess that's timely. I like that idea, actually.
Well,
Okay.
Neither of the games are going to be Final Fantasy, I'll tell you that.
Ah, shit.
But one of them was published by Square Enix.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
All right. There we go. That'll be a tease for the next cast. Guys, it's been fun. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye now.